When a new restaurant opened at one of our favorite World Showcase pavilions, we were understandably a little excited. So here's my review of Disney's Takumi-Tei at the Japan Pavilion of Epcot. Awesome food is one of our favorite things about Disney, and obviously that's particularly true of Epcot. And on our most recent trip, we were really making a point to try some new things, or maybe things that we just hadn't gotten around to, even if it had caught our eye. So when we were trying to look around and find some great reservations, and we saw that Takumi-Tei had opened up their reservations, and it was going to be open while we were there, we were obviously going to jump on that. We were very excited, and we snatched up that reservation super quick. Making a trip to actual Japan is definitely something that we want to do, but that's kind of a bucket list item, not something we see happening in the near future. So for now, the Japan Pavilion of Epcot is as close as we're probably gonna get. I already have some foods and treats at the Japan Pavilion that are kind of my go-tos, tried and true sort of foods, but we're also really big steak fans, so it obviously made a lot of sense to us to celebrate our anniversary and have a nice dinner here at Takumi-Tei. When you're standing by the water and looking towards the pavilion, the big pagoda will be on your left, and to the right is the large sort of palace building. When you're looking at the palace, the lower level on the left is the entrance to the store that continues on back. The entrance to Takumi-Tei is at the same level, but on the right-hand side on the front of the building. It's a little tucked away behind some bushes and some statues, but once you kind of know where you're going, it's really easy to see. While the food was definitely pretty good, I feel like a large portion of dining at Takumi-Tei is definitely the whole experience of it all, and I don't want to ruin that for anybody, so I'm not going to go into some super huge details or just reiterate everything that they said, just sort of give my general overview and feelings on things, and maybe share a few pictures. At the entrance to the restaurant, we were greeted at the podium by two very lovely hostesses in full kimono. It was really cool because you automatically knew you were into a pretty traditional, very themed experience, and that's kind of why you're at Epcot, so that was pretty exciting. One of the hostesses took us right inside the door to the first room, where she explained with some visual aids what the whole idea of the restaurant was about, what the name meant, and sort of the underlying theme that the whole area and experience was going to have. It was really very cool to immediately be thrown into the whole show and splendor of it all, and it was very Disney. While the restaurant itself has an overall theme, each individual dining room is sort of a different portion of that, and we dined in the wood room, and in typical Disney fashion, it was pretty obvious what the theme of that room was. The actual walls were made to look like sort of a rough-hewn wood. It was very cool. I really liked the effect. When we'd first arrived, one of the hostesses asked if we were celebrating our anniversary. I cannot honestly remember if I had put on the reservation that it was our anniversary, or if she just saw that I was wearing my anniversary badge at the time, but I did confirm that yes, we were, and after we'd been seated for a little while, what I believe was the restaurant manager came to our table, and she was very sweet, and she congratulated us, and she gave us each a glass of a sparkling sake. I'm not usually a big fan of sake, but actually this one was really good. She did say it was a lot sweeter than they typically are, which is my problem. I like sweeter drinks, but this one was actually really good, and I wanted to make sure that I very carefully sipped it to sort of let it last throughout the night rather than just have it all done and gone too quickly, because sometimes I can do that with those really sweet drinks. If you know me, you know that I am kind of a picky eater, so while my husband wanted to order the whole tasting menu with a whole bunch of different set courses, I went a little bit simpler. Instead, I ordered the Ushikai no Shukaku, or the Cattleman's Harvest. It's an American Wagyu beef that came with a few accoutrements. It's a little bit simpler than the grand meal my husband was ordering, but let's face it, I honestly usually don't have a huge appetite for a lot of food at once anyway, and I was really excited to try some good steak. Since my husband had ordered that huge grand tasting menu, he got a couple courses before I got any food. It started with a little palate cleanser, as it was described to us, that is a reimagined daily course. So I don't know how often they will be changing that, especially since the restaurant is very new. Some of those imagined regularly or seasonal items at Disney really don't change very often, or it's a really minor detail, and then sometimes they drastically do change it from day to day. So not really sure where that's going to go yet, but he did enjoy it. He really liked it. It was just a little one bite and done. His second course was a plate of 5 different pieces of sushi. Our server explained that the tiny little round one-bite pieces were designed for the geisha so that they could eat one little bite without messing up any of their fancy makeup, which I thought was a kind of fun little story, a little tidbit, and goes along with the whole traditional theme of the restaurant, so that was kind of fun. The servers were really fantastic about explaining the traditions behind everything, going over the ingredients, what words meant. It was really very educational. I really enjoyed the theming behind it and all that like one-on-one experience. Very cool. The next course on the tasting menu was one I definitely had to steal a couple bites from. It was the Braised Wagyu short rib, and we were told that it is slowly cooked over 16 hours, so I immediately am thinking of that yummy smoked barbecue that my family loves to make on big family occasions and holidays, but with that wonderful Wagyu and Japanese twist. I was really excited to see this, and I was not disappointed. It came on the plate with a half of a giant piece of bone, and the Wagyu was shredded on top with some little green leaves that we were told were a micro wasabi, which I tasted a couple of them and you could definitely taste that little wasabi kick, but it wasn't quite as strong and powerful as the sort of thing that comes on like sushi typically. And then it was all over top of the revealed pieces of cooked marrow. So Nathan was super excited by that. He loved that. I wasn't quite as fond of the marrow, but the actual Wagyu was delicious. In the same way that slowly cooking that meat on a smoker for a barbecue really gets all that extra flavor and texture, same deal, but with that awesome Wagyu meat. He really loved this course, and I'm glad I stole a couple bites early because he definitely was not leaving any of that on the plate. Next, finally, came the entrees, and let's face it, that's why we were really here. Again, I had ordered the American Wagyu, which came with some roasted onions, some shiitake mushrooms, and then some lotus root and potatoes. Very delicious, the sides were great, but yes, the Wagyu steak was so good. It was tender, it was juicy, it was very lightly seasoned, so it wasn't overkill and you could really get the taste of that meat there, but added that little extra zing. So delicious. Definitely one of the best steaks I've ever had. The tasting menu came with both Japanese and American Wagyu, the same roasted onions that I had, and some similar but slightly different vegetables on the side. Now, that meant that Nathan, as he ordered the tasting menu, and me, because I'm not afraid to mooch off of his plate, were able to compare the Japanese and American Wagyu. Now, I could kind of tell that the Japanese was a little bit better of a cut of meat, but my husband insists that he thought there was a very clear difference and that the Japanese was definitely better. But I guess that depends on how fine-tuned your palate is, but they were both amazing. So don't feel like you're going to be missing out if you only want to get the American. His dinner also included a dessert, which he was very willing to share with me, partly because he loves me and he's sweet like that, and partly because he's already had a good bit of food with all those courses. It was one of those little Japanese water cakes. I've seen them a lot on social media and just around the internet in general. They were kind of viral for a little while. They have been very interesting and I love the aesthetic of them, but generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of jelly sort of textures, so I was pretty sure that I wouldn't be a big fan of it, but I'm always willing to try one bite of something, so I did, and the flavor was just fine. I didn't have a problem with that, but again, the jelly texture was something I wasn't a huge fan of. It wasn't a really great little brown sugar syrup that was really sweet and delicious. Loved that. It also, though, came with a crumble that was my favorite part. It was described as a sweet roasted soybean crumble with little pink rose crystals. I thought that it was so good. I feel like that crumble could be sprinkled on like various little cakes or pastries, or obviously I ate it pretty much on its own. Either way, it was so good and I loved it. The last item included with the tasting menu was the tea ceremony, and we were offered to go ahead and add a cup for me for $6, and we figured, why not? Now I probably won't do that again in the future because $6 for one cup of tea is a little, a little out there, but for this one time, for a special occasion, we thought it was definitely worth it and not that big a deal. It was really great. The two different servers that we'd been having for this whole evening came out and worked together, and they explained that the actual traditional tea ceremony has over 1,000 steps and that they were going to do a shortened and modified ceremony, which, thank you. I'm sure it would be really awesome and amazing and educational to sit through an actual full traditional tea ceremony, but at this point we were tired and full and we'd had a long day at the parks and I definitely didn't have time for that. But they did go over the shortened version and they explained to us the proper ways to take and hold and present the tea. It was very cool and I really enjoyed it, and as a major tea snob, it was actually really good. It was the first time I've had like real full-blown matcha tea, so I really liked that aspect of it. I mean, I've had some things obviously that are matcha flavored, but this was real full-blown traditional tea, so it was really exciting and I actually really enjoyed the taste. As I said before, the food at Takumi-Tei is really good, but kind of more importantly, the experience is amazing. Disney, as a general rule, has pretty good customer service, but Takumi-Tei was miles beyond the typical Disney service levels. At one point, one of the servers was trying to bring something to the table, and I'm busy taking all kinds of pictures and videos, and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I take a lot of pictures. And she said, no, it's no problem. Hey, when you're done eating, would you like I can take you around and show you the different rooms and their different themes? They're all decorated different, they're really pretty. And I was like, oh my goodness, yes, please. I love that kind of stuff. That one-on-one was going to be really cool. Just getting a chance to see all the different rooms without feeling like some kind of weird stalker going randomly throughout a restaurant. I thought that was amazing. That was very sweet, and she really didn't have to do that. And just one quick tip for you, when we had first arrived, the hostesses had asked us if we were on a Disney dining plan or had any discounts. We said that yes, we had an annual pass holder discount. So later on, as we were ordering from our servers, they made a note. They said, oh, I see you have the annual pass holder discount, but the tasting menu is apparently, since it's not a la carte, it's a bunch of different things that are brought together, and by ordering them all as one, you're getting a bit of a discount. So since that's already discounted, it was explained to us that the tasting menu does not qualify for any further discounts. I assume that counts for like Tables of Wonderland or anything like that as well, but just sort of a heads up for you. So while we probably won't be eating at Takumi-Tei at a frequent and regular basis because it is a little bit on the pricier side for the amount of food that you get, it was a really great experience. The food, the ambiance, the amazing service were totally worth it, and I think they made our special night out a little bit extra special, and I'm really glad we did it. I hope this helped you out if you're thinking about dining at Takumi-Tei. Like and subscribe down below to get some more similar content and reviews like this, or maybe some of my more art-based content. Or if you've already eaten at Takumi-Tei, give me a little comment down below. Let me know what you thought about it. I hope you found this interesting and maybe a little bit helpful. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.